All right, so in our next example, we are going to be given information about angle alpha and angle beta. We're going to use that information to draw a reference triangle. We will need to find the third side in each of those triangles, and we'll do that using our Pythagorean theorem. And then once we've got those two triangles, we'll be able to use those two triangles to find all those cosine and sine exact values, just like we did in the previous problem. So it says first draw two reference triangles. So we're going to draw one for alpha and one for beta. And they tell us that sine of alpha is 4/5. And they also tell us that alpha is in between 0 and pi over 2. 0 and pi over 2, like that would be quadrant 1. So I'm going to draw a reference triangle in quadrant 1 for alpha. And they gave me sine. Remember, sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So I'm going to have opposite hypotenuse. And then I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. And I'll do that in a second. As far as angle beta goes, they tell us that tangent of angle beta is -7/24. And that beta is in between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. Well, this right here is where 3 pi over 2 is located, and then, of course, 2 pi. Same here. So beta gets drawn in quadrant 4. And then remember, tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. And so the opposite here is -7, the adjacent's 24. So I already created these two reference triangles, and I already found the third side for each of them using Pythagorean theorem. And so now we're ready to actually figure out what is cosine of alpha plus beta. And I have the formula written at the top of my screen here. And cosine of alpha plus beta is cosine alpha cosine beta minus sine alpha sine beta. And so just like the previous problem, I want to go through and I want to find these 4 values and substitute them into that formula. Okay, so cosine of alpha, alpha is my first triangle, and cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So I'm looking at 3/5 when it comes to cosine of alpha, so 3/5. Cosine beta, that's my second triangle. So I'm talking adjacent over the hypotenuse. So cosine of beta is 24/25 minus, now I'm ready to calculate those sine values, starting with sine of alpha. So that's my first triangle. Sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So 4/5 times sine of beta, opposite over hypotenuse, so -7/25. So I found those 4 exact values. I substituted those values into my cosine of a sum formula, and now I'm ready to do my math. So 3 times 24 is 72, and 5 times 25 is 125, minus 4 times -7 is -28. 5 times 25 is 125. Here I can actually subtract these two fractions. I ultimately am adding them together when you think about it, because I'm going 72 minus -28. So I end up with 100/125. And if you want, you can reduce this to 4/5. I'm fine with either answer. But that is the exact value for these two angles. So now you try it.